So we're still working toward our goal of having our app use CoreData to cache our API data. Let's go and select model, and let's change the entity name to pod. Earlier I made it NASA just to ensure that we didn't have build errors right away. I'm going to change the module to current, and right now by default it's set to define a class named pod, and that's where it would break. If we build, you'll see we get a bunch of errors. Let's change it to a category extension. We still get a bunch of errors, but we have a few less. So let's go handle those errors. I want to replace our conformance to codable and identifiable with an NSManaged. First, let's import CoreData. NSManagedObject, and then let's just implement Decodable for this video. We may or may not need encodable. And then let's get rid of that ID. You can see it has its own ID. Okay. Still a lot of errors, but we're knocking them down. We're down from what the original 32 to 25, now 13. So we deleted those properties because they were duplicated. And then we removed ID. Okay, we're going to need a custom error. Let's just define it here. I guess at the class level, it doesn't really matter. It could also be inside the initializer. Managed object context. Okay, and that's going to let us, when we start working here in our initializer, we can throw an error when we try to generate our context. Number one issue right now is that it's complaining that it's not initializing self. Let's try to do that. And you see, because we're conforming to this NSManagedObject, we can initialize it and pass it a context object, but we don't have that yet. So let's go ahead and create that. Let context equal see. Here we go. So I'm having to look at my notes. We'll say guardlet context decoder. We're going to set to managed object context. That's actually another thing. Let's add that real quick. Let's add a coding user info key extension. I'm going to add it in place, but I'll move it to a file once we're done here. Manage object context, coding user info key, and we'll pass a raw value of managed object context. Let's force unwrap it for now, and we should get our autocomplete on both of these. And let's write the rest of that guardlet statement. And that's where we're going to use our error. We can throw a decoder configuration error missing object context. Okay. And so now it's complaining that it is subtype any. So let's be sure to cast it as a NSManagedObject context. And let's see if that fixes that. Oh, little typo. Okay, things are looking a lot better. We just got 3 errors. They're in our views. This is kind of a problem, and I'm just kind of letting it pile up a little bit so we can We'll eventually address this where we're not having to do all this in our view, but I think for now it's fine. It kind of illustrates the importance of it. Explanation equals pod explanation. I hope I'm spelling explanation right. Okay, we have, oh, so we're saying if we can create that, then let's display that. Same thing here, except we could have some problems if we do some checks here. So for now, I think I'm just going to do this for the moment. So we'll show it if there's other data. Long term, we'll do something more clever here. Let's make sure it runs. And once again, our goal, we shouldn't see any change in behavior. Let's see, looks like something's going wrong. Perhaps some kind of decoding error, let's see. Or maybe it's just a slow response. I don't see anything wrong. It may just be maybe a bug that we need to address in the future. Oh, that's what it is. One step more, I believe. If let's go into our data extensions, and we're going to need to make a change there. Let's set our decoder user info, coding user info key, manage object context to our persistent shared controller that we created last time, and the view context, that's for pod. Let's do the same for pods, and let's try to run again. Okay, so it's working. So we're using the that core data model now to display it. We're not actually storing anything in the database or displaying anything from the database, but we're now set up where we can start saving our payload there and then retrieving it to display it.